I'll read the one that was inspired by Wallace Stevens, his poem Men Made Out of Words. I thought I had invented this topic. This poem was, the title is Man Made Out of Words, and it wasn't until after I read the poem, actually got published, I went back and I saw that this is really this was Stevens entering my unconscious. Anyway, this was my version of his poem. Man Made Out of Words. Slowly, slowly, he names himself. Wind that moves the dream along, smiling skull, turkey on the table. He is tugged from everywhere by gravities and common things. Puzzles over what to call these densities thickening in his flesh. Rides the gift horse like a madman all over the place, chasing trajectories of weather from nowhere to nowhere, like wind. He nestles in the Rockies, roars across the Great Plains, stirs those stinging blizzards into Cleveland. And in New York, he hears static on the radio, whispers, if I am made of words, then words can save me. The main man out of words sees his spinning planet from its moon, sniffs the passing moment like a hound. The man made out of words is skin deep, tattooed all over, layer on layer, squirming as he flexes in his sleep. He is crazed by echoes bounding off the walls of all he's not, reaches out to touch them, to name them with his dreams. Table, ice block, sedan chair, torn carpet. He is out of time. Each tick, each tock, each ever tumbles backwards into yesterday. The man made out of words is empty, follows on behind the pen, receives the gift, whispers grace and please.
I think Wallace Stevens would be happy with the way you advanced the idea.
All right.
Before you read this, we were talking off the off the record, so to speak, and you were talking about getting stuck. What you do when you're stuck. Can you go back to that? And
Yeah. Well, when I'm writing, I spend an hour, at least an hour a day, just doing free writing. Writing about whatever comes into my head. So that's my. I'm not trying to write a poem. That's my plan. And what I find that as the flow sometimes I'm writing about something, I'm sort of into it, and then I'll get stuck, or I find myself starting to force it. And when I realize that, I stop. I literally put the pen down on the paper, and then I wait for something to occur to me. And so sometimes it's just writing the word stopped, stuck out on the page, and then. Usually, if I have to write the same word over and over again, I will. Sometimes 3, 4, 5 times. I'll write stuck, and then I'll start to something else will occur to me, like, oh, this is really stupid. Why am I doing this? And then also I might something like, well, why do I write poetry anyway? And so I start to write about my motivations for doing it, and then I'm back into it again. So I never stay stuck for long. I often don't come out with anything that's I want to make into a poem, but I keep writing. I keep the pen moving. I think I'm a big fan of Natalie Goldberg. And that was what she always told her writing students was, whatever happens, don't stop. Keep the pen moving.
And you asked a very interesting question. You said, well, what am I writing poetry for anyway? Why do we write poetry?
I can't imagine life without it. I think life would be unbearable. I don't know if that's true. I probably find some other outlet like drinking or drugs, sex, rock and roll.
Real Charles Bukowski,
He's got his charm. I heard that a Zen teacher. People asked him that question, and that was his answer. He said, "Life would be why do you meditate?" He said, "Life would be unbearable without it." You know, and I think I resonate with that. I think that's true for me in poetry.
Where else does Zen come into play? You've had some
All over the place. And I made the last 4 years I've decided to really make a study of it, not just to meditate for stress management purposes, which I needed then, but to really try to understand it, what it is, what it's saying. You know, and I go to talks all the time. I'm very interested in how other people make sense of it. How does it affect the poetry? Well, the whole notion of not stopping, you know, is Zen wants to develop. You want to cultivate in yourself the capacity for sort of like continuous attention, you know, continuous experience. And so you write until you get stuck, but then you don't really leave the page. You know, you keep writing, and that maintains your attention through the resistance. You know, and then the resistance becomes part of you, and all that's what happens in meditation. So I see writing as being very much of a piece with meditation, and sometimes it comes into my. I think it comes into the style of what I write a lot. Occasionally, there's a poem that really is about meditation.
You have an example?
Yes, I do actually. It's one of the ones I memorized. It's called "Ode to Practice." It's got a epigraph. Ode to Practice. Under duress, we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. Bruce Lee. Old scuffed ball on the cement. Big blue vault of summer dawns. Bounce after bounce after bounce. It echoes even now. Repetition easing into a messaging code. Something like hope. Something like fate. If I make this shot, I'll marry a beautiful woman. Sometimes I could feel the mojo of a true shot in its arc. How it spun from my fingertips. How it seemed to know where it was going. How it tore through the net with a snap and bounced again on the street. Me, moving in quickly, quick to pick up the dribble and start it all again from a new angle. Even now, I can't quite say exactly what was happening to me. Innocence thickening into raw skill, maybe. The ball and I finding our dance tugged amidst great forces. Gravity and flight, destiny, emptiness and hope. 10,000 shadows launching themselves into the future.